dick,
No,
but
no,
I'm
guys,
gonna
come
be
on,
the one that's able to hear.
I flipped.
Alright, it's shut the fuck up time.
Give me back my earplugs. Come on, this isn't nice.
Quiet on the field.
Hey, guess what? Guess what? You can respawn and get your fucking earplugs back. Big fucking thunk.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Check his claws now.
He's lagged.
I don't know what I would do without you, Liru.
It's great to know that the entire Roman Empire relies on Liru for advice. Fuck me, just
How is
fuck,
that?
fuck.
Liru, that's the correct response. Just
Okay.
defend yourself against your plate armor.
Let's see, either you're gonna make me shoot myself, or we're gonna get through so I can do 40 hours of testing on the Sunday file, and then I'll shoot myself. Welcome to AT Training. This will teach you not every single AT stick in the game. That would take us hours, and I have fucking other things to do, like Angel Dust. Anyway, I'm gonna teach you the basics. I've got a bunch of different modules down. I'll populate the range. We'll talk about that when we get there. And yeah, so little bit of knowledge before we get into things today. Does anyone know what type of armor this IFV Gorgon has?
Slack cage.
Spacing armor, okay.
Whoever the idiot is that said reactive armor, wait for the fucking Bradley's turn. It's a slack cage / spaced armor. The purpose of it is to stop HE and HEAT warheads by, you know, having this little slack cage in the front. Now, warheads such as tandem heat that have penetrator effects will actually be able to bypass this armor, but instead of their HE warhead hitting the, like, you know, inside the vehicle and detonating, it'll only hit the outer hull, so it still has a reduced effect. Also, for vanilla vehicles like this one, it does have a damage texture to show when the slack cage is penetrated, so constant hits on the same area will actually yield better results. But for an armor like this, it's better if you try to do a top-down attack. We'll get to those later. Now, what type of armor does this Bradley have? One of you already said it. Alright, Roman Empire, I'm disappointed in you. You can come back in 2 weeks. Anyway, reactive armor. Reactive armor has these little panels on them that have a chemical reaction go off that dissipates the energy of any warheads that, you know, instead of the energy going into the crew or the vehicle and damaging vital systems or killing people, it'll, you know, just go throughout the panels, and you can actually see destroyed texture effects on these panels. So, where is the best place to hit the vehicle?
Rear or back.
Between the turret and the main.
None of you actually said the right answer. The correct answer is from the top on the engine. Now, the engine could be anywhere, either in the front or back of the vehicle. For example, if you have... First off, you do top-down because armor is thinnest on the top. And RHS actually does a really good job of recreating that across all of its vehicles, which is why we're primarily an RHS community. Now, the engine block generally is in one of two places, the front or the back. The front, if you are driving an APC or car, and the back, usually if it's an IFV or tank. It's hard to tell, but you'll actually see vents open. I'm not sure if we have any on this Bradley, but I know we have, 1 second. Voof. Boot. I love that boot time. Okay, 1 second.
You can see those things. These are probably the engine thingies.
Then
I'm seeing a bunch of ventilators in the back here.
Yep. Alright, so if we were to come over here to this tank,
Oh, hello.
it's a little hard to see, but you see these little panels on the back? You're essentially looking for stuff like that. Because that tells you that the engine is in the back. So if you were to get a top-down shot on these vents, you would probably catastrophic the vehicle. So, that is the best place for you to hit the Vic, because obviously if you damage the engine, stop it from moving, you're going to force the AI to bail out. Usually an engine hit also restarts an explosion, and the entire vehicle will go up. Now, does anyone know the second best place to hit the vehicle?
Tracks or wheels.
That's actually the third best place to hit it, because if you hit the tracks or wheels, then it, you know, can't move, but it's still able to fire and shoot at you. Speaking of fire and shooting at you, second best place to hit it is the turret, because if you knock the turret out, it just becomes a very, very expensive, slow-moving APC, whether it can, you know, fit 11 people, or like that T-72 over there, it can fit 4. It just becomes something slow-moving that, you know, maybe it will try to run you over if it's mean, or if I'm having a bad day, but yeah, it at least prevents it from firing back at you. And then, like I said, third best place is the track or wheels. Now, for an IFV with 8 wheels like this Gorgon here, you're probably going to have to knock out anywhere between 3 and 5 of those wheels to force the AI to bail out. And as you can see with this Bradley, they have reactive armor going down to the track, so making this shot is actually very, very difficult.
It's got a skirt.
So I'd aim for the fucking turret instead. Oh, I just got demonetized. What's your question?
Does HE actually take out tracks? HE ammo.
Yes. Now, if it depends on your caliber. So, 14.5, just regular armor piercing can actually shoot out a track. A good way to test this is if you boot up the virtual arsenal and grab a weapon or vehicle. There are 3 vehicles that are from the AAF: a Vanilla Strider, a Vanilla Gorgon, and an AAF tank. I'm not sure if it does this anymore, but you used to be able to fire certain ordnance at the tank tracks, and they would highlight to indicate they would be damaged. Now, I'm not sure if they've switched that to be just the hull, but you could always just boot up a Zeus file, make one in editor. There's plenty of tutorials out there, and just do your own testing. Because, you know, I don't have the time to test every possible caliber on every possible vehicle unless it's supposed to be something for an actual mission.
But I do.
Cat.
Oh, God.
Does anyone have any questions on how to engage vehicles with AT? Alright, cool. Let's go to Module 1. Now, first off, note on the range. All of those flags represent 50 meters, going up to 300 meters. Do note, there will be targets past the 300-meter marker. And some will be really, really far out there. That's because by the time we get to the end of these modules, you'll be engaging stuff that is probably a few clicks away, at most. So, we're going to basically go from short-range AT to the missile launchers. Now, first module is single-shot disposable AT. Your single-shot disposable AT is usually the AT you see given to riflemen or team leads as an oh shit AT piece if your primary AT guy is down, or it's given to special forces groups that don't want to bring a reloadable AT launcher, or they've been advised that there's only a few lightly skinned vehicles that they have to worry about. Now, most of these launchers are going to be RHS based. Do note that we are a community that changes the mod set every 3 months, and we might add or subtract rocket launchers and missile launcher systems as we see fit, but RHS systems will always stay, so we teach it as the minimum. All launchers you will find will base yourselves off of these 5 modules, so digression aside, take a shot. Let's talk about the M136. So, M136 is a standard tube with a reloadable piece of AT in it. Now, if you notice in the arsenal, you have 2 different terms here. You have your HEAT and your HEDP. If you ever see the term HEAT, assume that is your anti-tank round, because it means high explosive anti-tank. If you see HEDP, it means high explosive dual purpose, which is essentially meaning the warhead can be used against vehicles or infantry to some degree of success. However, if you're carrying AT, your job is generally to blow up vehicles in this community, so I would not recommend taking HEDP launchers. There is an exception. We'll get to that on the bottom of the list. So, with any Blue 4 launcher, you also have the M72A7 Law. That's a smaller warhead than the 136s, but it can still pack quite a punch. But with the Blue 4 rocket launchers, when you pull them out and try to click, like what I'm doing right now, you'll notice that it's unable to fire. That's because if you hit the I button, you'll notice it doesn't even have a round in it, and the round is in your uniform. That is a CBA script that once you hit the R button, actually prime the sights, you'll notice that the magazine actually loads in by the little indication on the top right, indicating you are able to fire. If you put the launcher back on your back or switch to a different weapon, it will unprime itself and you'll have to do that again. Now, this is only for the Blue 4 launchers from RHS. However, there are some launchers we have had going forward, or looking back and going forward with some of the mods we have planned to release in the next rotation that also follow that rule. So if you're unable to fire, you might have to prime the sights. Now, up 4 launchers, you have the RBG-26. This is basically the Russian equivalent of the M72A7. By the way, these short-range launchers are really meant to take out gun trucks, technicals, APCs, and weaker-skinned IFVs. If you fire this round at anything that has reactive armor, it's going to tickle it. If you fire this at any tank model past a T-55, it's going to tickle it. Leave those bigger targets for either your assets or your dedicated AT guy. I'll put some vehicles down for the range so you can see, but these things don't really do that much. It's kind of your oh shit panic AT when the IFV BMP charges you. Anyway, moving along, we have the RBR M80, which is from RHS SAF, and the RPG 75. These are more rocket-propelled grenades than actual HEAT warheads. They tickle anything that is deadlier than a BTR-60. So I would never touch these, even if they were in the field and you need to find AT to kill something, because they are an absolute annoyance. Again, when I clear you on the range, feel free to try them out, but yeah, I've never been able to do anything past tickle and IFV of any type with this, either of those launchers, actually. And then you have the RSH, yeah.
Would these, like the RBR M80 and the 75, would they be any good that if you were to try and clear out something in a building and you had no chance of getting up to the building?
Not really. So they're supposed to act like grenades, but their explosive radius is a little off. If you want something to clear a building, I would recommend, we'll get to that in reloadable AT, but if you're up for, great segue, we have the RSHG-2. This fires what I like to call a big suck round, aka a thermobaric warhead that once launched in an area will suck out all the oxygen, doing significant damage to infantry, and pretty much kill them. So this is the launcher you would use against a building or a confined space, because it, you know, works wonders in that type of environment.
So like, if there was an entrenched machine gun nest or something like that, then
Yeah.
you're like, we can't get to the position safely.
This is usually what's given to grenadiers in Russian squads, because it gives you a single tube.
An armed AA truck too.
You could. So with gun trucks, it's okay to use AT against them, but usually players prefer to try to snipe the people out with various degrees of success. It depends on your angle. If you can't get a good headshot, just use an AT stick, because I guarantee you that chucklefuck's gonna move and then gun down half of your squad. Which is why I usually just tell the AT guy to kill it on sight, but, you know, sometimes I'm not SLing and the SL asks to do something silly instead, but, yeah. Any questions on single shot AT? Alright, cool. I'm going to back away. Give me 60 seconds to populate the range. You're all tier 1, so I hope to God you remember how to properly fire a freaking launcher. And if I hear you not doing it, then I'm going to demote you back to T0, and I'll see you back at basic next week. Capiche? I want to hear you clearing your frickin' backblast.
Do me. I was just about to say that.
Getting the fuck out of Dodge!
Stay like at least 2 meters from each other.
Do me a favor, guys.
Roman
please.
Empire.
Oh, by the way, earplug check.
That's how you
Yeah, I did
fuck
at the
this
beginning.
country.
Sorry, what was that?
Remember, boys,
If you want to fuck up your country, by all means,
Remember,
have your backlash
CSU,
right up
weakest
against the tank.
target. Please be careful.
Because
Yeah,
then you'll
yeah.
end up like the Holy Roman Empire. That went well for them, didn't it?
Wait, which one's
Dude,
the tank?
the ZSU. No,
Bradley,
you
sorry.
don't get
Don't
it.
you mean the
The weakest
IFV?
point in the ZSU
Yes, the Bradley,
is the
my
ZSU.
apologies.
This thing is a piece of
Light
potato.
tracked vehicle.
I don't think this is a tank. Are you calling Liru a tank?
Oh, he is thick.
Anyway.
Extra
each
thick.
flag is thick, yeah.
How do you think I can just like them? No, If you have your Black Blast up against the Bradley,
Clear my
you will
back
end up like the Holy Roman.
Yes, you'll backblast yourself.
You're
So
back.
don't do it,
Clear.
please.
Yeah, that's I don't want to become the Holy Roman, but that's pretty disgusting. To me,
Miss! Congrats, you failed. Congrats, you hit an armored artillery tank with single fire AT. That was essentially useless.
Watch your back blast.
So you half damage up, there it goes. And that's a BTR 80 Alpha. Putting some tanks down to prove my point.
Clear my back blast.
Ah. So how are you guys doing in chat?
Clear.
I've been busy
Oh, I haven't got
teaching
bandages.
people. If you're wounded, respawn. It's okay, we'll spend another little bit of time on this section. Hey guys, try to kill the tank. The one right in front of you.
I already put one in it.
Clear my Black Blast.
Oh, I'm a DK. I'm a fucking DK.
Congrats to the guy that just got backblasted. I'm so proud of you.
Clear
You
my
should
back
be.
blast.
God damn it.
Clear back blast.
Black Blast clear.
How do I get that thing?
Jesus Christ, I'm shooting it too high.
Man, I love how this reactive armor is just screwing you guys.
Eating it all up in it.
Hey, I'm ready. Here it comes. The big one.
You know, I say the same thing to Bloodwing sometimes.
Just laugh at you.
I've got him right in the toe. With myself.
What, this is only taken, what, 3 rounds? There we go. Now, unless you have 3 frickin' AT4s. Yeah.
Clear back blast.
You're clear.
Alright, bring it in. Bring it in. You guys are silly. Range is not clear. Someone tell the chuckle fucks to stop firing.
Pass it along the lines.
Here. It's okay. I have the ultimate way to stop. When I say stop firing, that means stop firing. Thankfully, Armazeus Cache lets me boot a little quicker in the interface these days, but fucking damn. Alright. So what'd you guys notice about this type of AT? What was it really effective on?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Are you kidding me? You were one-tapping ZSUs, BRDMs, BTR-ADAs with it. Sounds like that was pretty fucking effective. What was it not effective against? Big fucking boy, right? Yeah, he laughed when you fired those first 2 and finally went up when 2 more went in its butt because sustained fire at the same vector is going to keep doing more and more damage. Digression aside, take a drink. Any questions?
I hit the Gepard, I think that's the Gepard, with a heat round, and it blew up immediately, I think, unless someone else shot at it.
So, why are you asking me why it blew up when you fired a high explosive anti-tank round at an unarmored vehicle?
My own question.
Okay. Now, little nugget of knowledge for you guys, since some of you were being chuckle fox. If you ever need to cross behind someone when they're firing a rocket launcher, you yell crossing behind as you are crossing behind that person. Once you get out of their backblast angle, you can stop yelling. If you ever need to cross in front of someone that's firing a machine gun or a gun or something where the pew-pews go in front and you are in danger, you yell crossing until you're out of the danger zone. Danger zone? Any questions on that? We do cover that in basics. I don't know why people weren't fucking doing it.
Because some people did.
Look at all these fucking blood droplets around. Like, fuck, you all failed. You all fucking failed.
3 bodies.
It's
We got
2
3
a.m. over here. I
fucking
can't
bodies.
yell.
Why are there 3 bot?
Actually,
Next module.
Next module.
Okay.
Mousy.
We have reloadable AT. These are the type of launchers you are given if you are a dedicated AT man in an 8 or 10 person squad, be it Moz's, RPG 32s, Carl Gustav's, RPG 7s, which we'll get to in the next module because that one deserves its own freaking module. Now, we also are going to start talking about built-in rangefinder systems and various different types of rocket launcher ammo. So, I'd like you all to look at the RPG-32. Green hex, regular, it doesn't matter. I just have them both in here because why not? Now, if you go to the backpack tab, you're going to notice that you have RPG-42 rocket and RPG-42 HE rocket. If it is not stated with the designation like HEAT or HEDP or HEAT, blah, 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 assume the one that doesn't have the designation, in this case being the RPG-42 rocket, is your standard AT rocket, meant to kill vehicles. If it is given a designation such as HE in comparison, such as the RPG-42 HE rocket, then assume that is meant to kill infantry. Now, as I said earlier, when you take AT, you are meant to be able to kill AT. However, usually the HE warheads are smaller than the RPG-42 rockets. That's even illustrated by the fact that the RPG-42 rocket has a little penetrator cap over the same warhead. You can bring an HE warhead or two. In fact, RPG guys for the RPG-7 usually do it because the OG round is OP as shit. We'll get to it later.
Airburst.
So, it's not even an airburst.
Isn't it?
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. I promise. But feel free, especially if you have an assistant, to possibly bring an HE round or two, because you never know when there might be a clump of infantry where one warhead will pretty much make your squad's life a lot easier. Anyway, once you grab this launcher, let's have everyone turn around, look at the range, don't fire it, or else I'll be mad, and look in the scope. Now, with this scope, you're going to see the bore sight, which is that big red plus on the top, and then a bunch of little bore sights going all the way down to the 5-dash. These represent your ranges of 0.5 to 5 of 50 meters to 500 meters respectively on the sight, meaning this rocket launcher can be accurately ranged in up to 500 meters, but anyone could have fucking told you that. What I'm going to tell you that most people don't know, and I'm not going to give you an example because it's widely inaccurate because many vehicles are different lengths, is the fact that if you were to get a side view of a vehicle, so they're all facing us right now, but if you were to be ambushing the vehicle from the side and you were to be able to, let's say, fit that vehicle just barely in that 2 line, notice how the line kind of curves, goes left and then down next to the 2 and then across that little bore sight. On the other side, it goes right and then down. If you can fit the vehicle in between that line, guess what? It's roughly 200 meters away if you're lining up with the 2 line. If you line it up with the 4 line, guess what? It's roughly 400 meters away. The 1 line, guess what? 100 meters away, and you can range accordingly. Now, I don't give examples for this one because this is the only launcher we have that uses this type of built-in range finding system. Also, it's widely inaccurate because, as I already said, vehicles are varying lengths, so it becomes a little bit of a pain in the ass to utilize. Any questions on that range finding system? No? Okay. Awesome. Go back in the arsenal and grab a Mod 0 Mods. You're going to need the Mod 0 first before we get into the Mod 1. Now, if you were to look down the scope, you'll see that it is ranged up to 1,000 meters, making it double the effective range of the RPG-32. Does it make it superior? No, it's up to you to actually still be able to make that shot. Also, what you'll notice is that you have a different built-in rangefinder system here, this one being a lot more common, the good old solid bottom line with a bunch of dashes on the top. Top dash on the left is 200, going all the way down to 1,000 meters, respectively. So, here is your little example here. I want everyone to look at the T-72 reactive armor in front of me. Here's how you use the built-in rangefinder system. You line up the bottom line with its chassis. Not the tracks, but the actual chassis part in the middle of the tracks, so where it's elevated a little bit. And then you line up the top of the chassis, not that tippy top of the PK. Yeah, it's a PKM right there. Don't use that. Use where it starts to try to line up your bottom lines. So what you're going to notice is once you line up the bottom line, sorry, I said bottom lines, but top lines. But once you line up the solid red bottom line with the chassis and you kind of look left and right, you're going to notice that none of the lines really fit. However, the 200 is the closest to the top, meaning that vehicle is within 200 meters of you, but it's anywhere from, I'd say, 175 to 150 meters depending on that line. Now, little trick here is that, like vehicles in length, vehicles in height are also in various degrees. That's why I tell people, aim with the bottom of the chassis, ignoring tracks and wheels, and try to aim at the top of the chassis, or turret. Because tanks are actually shorter without the tank turret itself, but, you know, it also helps you line up with BTRs and stuff. So, if we were to fact check that, we would need a mod 1 mods. Does anyone have any question on how to use this little built-in rangefinder system? Again, you'll see that one used in a lot more launchers, which is why I give you examples for it. No? Okay, cool. Grab a mod 1 mods. Now, this one is really cool because it's just a point-and-click simulator. You're going to notice that it has these ugly-ass V-sights for your 1,000-meter marking, but it also has a red dot. If you were to hit the T key, you get a red dot. And then it gives you the range of that red dot on the bottom. So if you were to range that tank, depending on where you do it, if you do the front of its track, it's 148 meters. If you do that PKM turret, it doesn't let me do it, so fuck me. If you do the top of that chassis, it's 150. So, yeah, kind of lines up with the fact that it was within 200 meters with the built-in rangefinder system. Everyone see that?
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Alright, do you guys want time to actually fire these launchers, or do you want to move on to the next section?
Let's give it a shot or two.
Okay.
Make them explode. Yes.
Fun using this one.
Range is clear. I'll be in Zeus adding stuff to the range. Good luck, have fun. Clear your fucking backblast. If you need a yell crossing behind, do it.
Going on really.
Clearing backblast.
Clear
Firing.
backblast.
3, 2, 1.
To the two of you that missed, your moms are hoes.
Oh.
Clear my back blast. Clear back blast. Clear back blast. Clear my back blast. Clear back blast.
Oh yeah, that one does make the texture.
Clear back blast.
I'm gonna put that down just to troll him. That thing has a trophy system that eats all rocket warheads that get flown at it.
Clear back blast. I'm coming up behind you. Crossing behind. Clear back blast.
Ожидаю указаний. Ожидаю ваших приказов. Ожидаю
How am I
указаний.
getting hurt? There's no one behind.
Alright, call it down the range. Hold fire, hold fire, hold fire, hold fire. Now, some of you were asking why you're still getting hurt while people are firing. Let me answer that. That is because, and I try to stress this in basic training, you need to stand at most behind someone, shoulder to shoulder. Not where the actual back of the tube is, but actual shoulder to somebody. That's because if I were to... One of you stop moving. Let's see. If I were to fire from, like, right here, I could still possibly backblast Sirius. Even though he's technically in front of the back of the tube, Arma does backblast models a little wonky. They're supposed to come out the back of the tube, but the angles can be a little weird. Also, do note that this is in range of backblast. So if you're firing right here, backblast could still technically hit this and bounce back, giving you a minor wound. I have noticed with the latest Ace update, they've made backblast a little more ranged, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So I might have to move this sign back, which means more work for me. Anyone have any questions on reloadable AT?
No.
Nah.
What did we notice about reloadable AT compared to single shot AT?
More effective.
Packs more punch.
And you can fire it faster because you don't need an extra tube to pull out of your pack. Just hit the R key. Isn't that convenient?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get an assistant with a backpack and you just run up and he'll have rockets for you and then you can fire even more times. Isn't that great? Now, we're going to talk about the best launcher in the game.
The RPG-7?
The RPG-7. It is the most varied rocket launcher you will ever fire in Arma 3. I can guarantee you that right now. If you master it, which I will admit is one of the biggest pains in the ass in the game, if you're able to master this thing, you are literally able to kill any threat that will come at you as long as you have access to the right warheads. Not even kidding. When you grab this, make sure you grab a PGO-7V3 sight. There are a bunch of different types of RPG sights. That's because this launcher has been in the service since like 1960s, and they've just been constantly making upgrades to it. And every sight variation has added new types of warhead designations.
Exactly like the L85.
Pretty much. Now, if you go to your backpack, you're going to notice that there are a bunch of different warhead types. I'm going to go through all of them now. You have your PG-7V, which is your standard HEAT warhead. This is the first warhead that came with the launcher in the 70s. At that time, there were things like Patterson tanks and T-72s, the early models that were, in development. Actually, it was T-64s, but basically they were armored, but they didn't have any reactive armor. They were just big targets. So this warhead was designed to basically engage those targets. If you look at the warhead, or even on people's backs right now, they have the little penetrator cap that, was meant to penetrate the armor lightly, and then the warhead was meant to detonate inside. That's what an HEAT is. It penetrates and then explodes. Now, governments started making thicker armors, early reactive armors, and all of those works. So, the Russian government invented the PG-7VL, which is dubbed the Improved Heats. This is meant to take on your more armored tanks, or your Bradley IFVs, or anything that is a bit more modern. Shooting a 7V warhead at a modern Abrams is going to be the same thing as shooting a shoulder single-shot AT shell at an Abrams. It's going to tickle it. So try to pack 7VLs, or you can get close enough, tandems, but we'll get to that one in a second. Now, I just mentioned them. The PG-7VR is your tandem heat. If you notice, it's literally a 7VL warhead with an extra penetrator cap. That penetrator cap is meant to get through your really thick armor on reactives, on Abrams, anything. If you get a shot on the hull of a vehicle with this warhead, 9 out of 10 times you are going to disable it. It is that powerful. However, it fires very slowly and has a very short range. We'll get to that after I finish these rounds. Then you have your OG-7V warhead, the best HE warhead in the game. The guy with the gas mask to my right has one on his back. You're going to notice it's actually very tiny. It's because it's a very thick boy because it takes up most of the launcher itself inside the tube. That is purely packed with HE and a small little detonation cap in front that will cause a very large explosion and kill pretty much every infantryman within a 10-meter radius. It's ridiculous.
It's
Now,
meant to be fermentation, I think.
yeah, it's deadly. But if you are not a fan of HE and instead prefer the biggest of sucks, you have the TBG warhead. Your thermobaric grenade. That's what it stands for. This thing is meant to be shot into buildings or machine gun bunkers and just cause a lot of damage everywhere. It's very nasty. We already talked about what TBG does. I encourage you to fire this launcher at some of the vehicles. Not really meant as an anti-tank weapon, but you can see what it does because it has a pretty cool effect. Then you have your Type 69 airburst. Someone mentioned this earlier, thinking that the OG did this. It does not. The airburst is the one that does it. It basically hits the ground and bounces up like an HET grenade and detonates in the air. Now, damage-wise, use OG, because OG has a bit of a better explosive radius compared to the airburst. We almost actually never. I've never seen an airburst round given to someone in a mission. So you won't get the choice. And then you have your PG-7VM HEAT grenade. Similar to the airburst, you'll never see it used except if you're playing vanilla because it's the only warhead for the vanilla RPG launcher. This is the equivalent of firing an RBR or an M80 from the single-shot AT launchers at things. It'll just tickle them. Now, special note I will say, you do want to use these warheads if you're playing a looting campaign, because sustained fire from these warheads on a vehicle will probably damage the systems enough to make the AI bail out. Then you can steal the vehicle if you're doing this, looting or salvage campaign. You just need to repair the stuff, which will only be moderately damaged to the point the AI will bail out. So, food for thought. Now, anyone have any questions on the warheads?
Can we have some infantry to shoot with the TBG?
I will give you some infantry, don't worry.
Oh, yes.
Any other questions? I did not understand that at all.
Nothing.
It's time for the graph then.
Is there
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Nope, it's not graph time. What?
any reason to not just pack 7 VRs?
You mean the tandem heat? We'll get to that. It's time for the graph.
Oh boy.
So, why wouldn't you pack tandem heat 7 VRs? Very good question. Number one, they take up a bunch of inventory space, and B, they are only effective up to 200 meters, whereas your PG-7V is effective up to 500 meters. It's very situational. If I am fighting Durka people that probably don't have anything bigger than that T-55, I probably only need to bring 7Vs, because 7Vs are going to be more than capable of blowing up BTRs, 60s, 70s, BMP-1s, and T-55s and T-34s. However, if I'm fighting the U.S. Army because World War III broke out because Putin didn't like what Trump tweeted about him, I would probably need to bring a tandem heat or two. But, again, shorter range, they fly slower, so you'd have to get uncomfortably close to the target, which in a modern battle almost never happens because normally you're blown up by ordnance before you can get anywhere close. But let's talk about the graph. So, you got that plus right there, your bore sight. You guys can scope in as well to see this sight firsthand, by the way. But this is where the rocket's going to go if you're at close range. So, if you ever see an M symbol, it is referring to the PG-7V HEAT warhead. With these lines referenced, it can go up to 500 meters. Now, you can guesstimate more down this list and get it further, but, you don't have any solid lines to tell you. Meaning that with the PG-7V warhead, it is effective up to 500 meters, which is exactly why the RPG-32 that's reloadable in the previous module is also ranged up to 500 meters. Food for thought. Your second warhead, which is referenced by what I like to call the pie symbol without the tail, and without the pie I like to eat, it is your PG-7VL improved HEAT. So, this is effective up to 300 meters. So, you lose 200 meters because it's a thicker warhead, giggity, but it is able to kill your more armored targets from the 1980s era, I would say. You then have your OG-7 frag round. It follows these circled areas respectively because the Russians ran out of places to sight things. So you just follow these lines. It's effective up to 300 meters. And like I said, you don't have to be accurate with it. You just need to be area accurate, which means, instead of trying to hit a guy in the head 300 meters away, you're just trying to hit the backside of a barn. Now, as I've already mentioned, we have the TBG and the PG-7VR, your tandems. They are very big, slow-firing rounds, so for all of the space where, in the distance that these guys have at the 2, which is represented at 200 meters, a PG-7V round sighted at the same range could literally go 5 times their distance. Probably at the same time considering the speed of the PG-7V compared to the speed of the tandem heat. So, these are ranged at these 3 positions respectively. If you ever see a P, that is for both tandem and thermobaric because they follow the same sight lines. And then you have your little built-in rangefinder system on the bottom right. It's a little more rugged. If you notice the lines kind of curve up and down, that's because, again, that's meant to be an approximation device, not an actual estimate. So it kind of tells your brain, hey, you know, it's somewhere there, but maybe not entirely. Any questions on the graph?
Say again about the 7V and 7VR.
So the 7...
600, 200, 300.
It's 100, 150, because you have that 1,5, and then it's 200.
Gotcha.
Yep. Any other questions? Alright, I'm going to populate the range with some infantry so you guys get some reference material. But, yeah, give these rounds a shot. You'll see what I'm talking about. So,
Is it worth mentioning that should a TBG?
hold on. Two people asking questions at once. One at a time, guys. Come on. First question. Go.
Where does the Airbus round go under this?
What do you mean?
On the graph, I just realized I didn't see one for the...
You're right.
type.
It's not mentioned because we don't really use it at all. Same with the HEAT grant. Yeah, you can use it in training, but like I said, you're never going to use it outside of this training.
Round up the tank with it, Namas. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you.
Sad killing noises.
Yeah.
Wait.
Let me know
Just get like
once I
50 of
can
them
shoot.
and fire at the tank. You'll kill it eventually.
What was the other question?
Eventually.
I wasn't asking a question, it's fine. I was just stating something.
Fuck you, man.
Alright.
Okay, if there's no more questions, range is hot. I mean, go kill the Chads, go kill the
Clear back
tanks, clear your freaking back blasts.
Ready for orders. Wait.
Rocket.
That's Airbus for me, right in my face. Sad.
You know, it's like I say, you're not gonna ever use it because it's silly, and then you use it and you find out it's silly.
Clear my back blast. Rocket.
That rocket passed my face.
You just killed all of my Chads. I hope you're proud. Hold up. I want to prove a point, though. Hold up, bring it in real quick.
Match heads now. I took him
So you see those dead Chads over there behind the BRDM? Ah, fuck's sake, 1 second. Yeah, that one's dead. Alright, so those dead Chads by the frickin' behind that BRDM. It's hard to see, so I'm gonna grab a virtual marker.
See him, I shot him.
Ready for orders.
You see where this purple guy is? The virtual entity?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a downed guy right there from that same warhead.
What the fuck?
Like I said, the most overpowered warhead in the game. Continue on.
Crossing.
Copy.
Clear back blast.
Alright, you're clear.
Ready.
Clear.
Rocket.
Clear.
Holy shit, that thing just bounced off the ground.
To the guys that missed the 50-meter shot against the Chads, your mom's a hoe.
Let me fix that for you. Clear back blast.
Like someone got hurt.
It's big.
Hey, yeah, firing a TBG round point blank also makes your mom a hoe.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was the TBG. Ouch.
Oh.
Maybe firing HE anti-personnel rounds at 50 meters is a bad idea. I thought you would have learned that after the first time. Maybe you'll learn it after the third time.
Barely got it.
CV is crossing. Fire. No,
Just yell crossing behind. It's easy. What the fuck is a serious crossing? Does that mean you have your serious face on?
No, I'm getting Sergeant serious. I'm crossing
Serious crossing behind! Serious crossing behind! Serious crossing behind! God, you sound dumb. You sound like me with my NCO voice.
Clear back blast.
Watch it.
Clear back
Liru,
blast.
I'm talking to Sirius and then you add his name.
Just yell crossing behind. If the guy has a rocket launcher out, he knows it's him. If he doesn't, then he's stupid and we're gonna take away his common sense tag. What's quicker? Serious crossing behind or crossing behind crossing behind? If you say serious, he might be about to fire because he thinks you're bullshitting with him. Food for thought.
I don't know why would you think I'm bullshitting with him when I'm telling him
You haven't played enough TSB then. That's your problem there.
Clear back blast.
By why you get to a bad call.
See, you made the Chads freak out. Now they're running around. Now they're scared. God, now my Chads are terrified. Oh my God, one of you just murdered them all. Great. Alright, hold fire. Hold fire. Hold fire. Hold fire.
Fire.
Okay, what did we learn?
Way, but
You have too much choice, sir.
Okay, my versatile, that's why I learned.
Okay. First thing we learned is I'll make fun of you if you do something wrong, or do something the way I don't tell you, because it's silly.
You did that last time I was in training, so that's fine. I'm used to it.
Well, I know, but some of these guys are new, and they don't know. So, welcome to TSB. We'll make fun of you if you do things the way we don't tell you to do them, because, you know, we've been kind of doing this for a while, so...
Yeah,
Just saying.
Just
saying. Oh yeah, no, Sniper will just outright ban you, because, you know...
Yeah, trust me about that.
He
one.
has fun.
Sniper modified my fucking description 10 times over for the last 2 weeks.
So, if you have soft skin, this community's not for you, but digression aside. By the way, if you're playing the drinking game where every time you take a shot, when I say digression aside, we're at 3 right now, so... And I just said it a 4th time, so technically you're at 4, but... I almost, continuing on, there, that's my new one. What did we think about the RPG?
Fucking
It's a
sexy.
very beautiful weapon.
Did all of you fire a thermobaric or tandem heat and then fire a VL to see the difference in not only the distance, but the speed of the warhead?
Same.
It was.
it's slow.
It's so slow.
Yeah,
It's so fucking slow.
Alright, so if you didn't see that, feel free to go into the virtual arsenal after that and do it yourself, because, well, if you didn't do it, your mom's a hoe. Anyway, let's graduate from rocket launchers. Now, we have missile launchers. Now, who knows the difference between a rocket and a missile?
Missiles can be guided.
And the missile knows where it is,
guided.
it knows where it isn't.
Thank you! Yes, I was looking for that answer. The missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this because it knows where it isn't. By subtracting the... Shush! By subtracting the deviation of where it is from where it isn't, you get error, or whatever that term is. Basically, TLDR of that funny little meme, a missile gives you control after you fire it, whereas a rocket is a dummy ordnance that once you fire it, you have 0 control over it. So you are actually what tells the missile where to go. Let's look at some missile launchers in here. Okay, so, first, we're going to go over the Metis M. This is a very niche launcher that you will almost never see, but hey, sometimes we give it to you. So, thing about the Metis is it's also a vanilla-based launcher. It is just literally a Metis over your shoulder. This is meant to kill your tanky boys. Now, a few nice things about the Metis. First off, actually, before we even go out of the arsenal, I want you guys to look back in here and go to your backpack and notice that there is an HEAT missile and an HE missile. Now, do also notice if you take all those HEAT missiles away... since this is an ace arsenal, take all your missiles away, hit the I button, and note your weight. So I'm at 18 pounds with literally nothing carrying this rocket launcher. That's because this missile launcher is literally 14 kilograms. My bad, not pounds, kilograms. Now, if I were to go into the arsenal, grab 3 of these warheads, and get out of the arsenal and hit the I button, I am now at 31 kilograms. My point is that these things are heavy.
What the fuck?
So... if you are going to take HE warheads for clearly a very deadly missile launcher, make sure that you A, either have an assistant, or B, have some sort of vehicle where you're storing them. Because if I find that you are only able to carry 3 warheads for a Metis system, the fact that we were given this Metis system indicates that the Zeus is probably going to spam tanks at us. HE is only going to tickle those tanks. You want to bring the HE-AT warheads or the AT warhead specifically. So please, consider that when you're given a launcher like this. It probably means you're going to have a lot of tanks to shoot at. Almost always, you're also given an assistant for these systems because the warheads are heavy as fuck. So, with that said, guys, let's see. Gave that little ran HE-AT missiles, blah, blah, blah. Now, when you actually scope in, you're going to notice that you get this really cool, like, Predator trifecta sight, whatever the heck. And you can hit the T key to actually give yourself a little range of this launcher system. Now, for this missile, it is effective just under 1,500 meters before it auto-explodes. So, consider that. If your target is past 1,500 meters and you try to fire this at it, it's not going to hit. It's going to explode just before it hits the target. Keep that in mind. I didn't know that once. Tried to fire at somebody in a, I think it was some sort of King of the Hill server. He laughed at me when it blew up in his face, and then he shot me with his sniper rifle, and I was really sad. So, do also note that if you scope in and hit the N key, as in Niagara, you can get thermal sights. So you get a orange-tinted white hot and an orange-tinted black hot. And you can see all those chads out there. Now, do note, this launcher also has a lock-on mechanism. Missile launchers usually have this sort of thing. It can be achieved by hitting the T key. Do note the T key also gives you the range of the target. However, it'll only lock on if it has a active thermal signature. So vehicles, once they're on and their engine starts running, you'll see that they'll start getting hot and appear more on thermals than if they were off. At that point, you'll be able to lock on with the launcher. Now, I will say, out of all missile launchers, the Metis has the most finicky rocket. I'll let you fire them in a second to kind of see that they sway back and forth. When you're making corrections, if you're doing a fly-by-wire, which means you're not locking onto your target, you're actually guiding it in with that little dot, I'd recommend you do that because you're going to see that the missile will, sway to the left and right. If you're aiming at targets further away, you need to really time where you hold, when you hold your breath, because if you, do the big gas for air and sway your round, it's going to sway the missile away, and it's going to miss, and you'll alert the enemy, and then they'll start looking for you and blow you up with some sort of autocannon, blah, blah, blah. So, keep that in mind. Again, to hold your breath, it's shift. You'll learn about that in marksmanship training, too. So, with that said, we're going to now talk about the Javelin. Now, do note that the Titan, it acts exactly like the Javelin when you have Ace loaded. When you don't have Ace loaded, the Titan behaves like the Metis, except it is a Blue 4 launcher instead of not 4 launcher, meaning it uses actual gray white hots and black hots instead of orange tinted. But everything else about it is pretty much the same. Also, with the Javelin, if you were to go into the scope and hit the F key, same as the Titan, you'll notice that you get the difference between direct and top-down. Now, advantages and disadvantages of both. Direct, DIR, also indicated by a solid white line under the word Javelin on the top right, means that the rocket will go a little up and then go directly towards the target. This is effective if your target has any cover on the top, such as a rooftop overhead, or if it has smoke countermeasures and the ability to detect incoming missiles. Fun fact, pretty much every vehicle in this game has that because vanilla is mean. So it kind of gives that system to everybody. If the vehicle doesn't have countermeasures, I would recommend a direct attack. If it does, a top-down. If it does have countermeasures, which is a smoke deployment, I would recommend a top-down. Top-down, however, is the superior way to hit your target because where did I say the best place to hit a vehicle is when we started this training?
On the roof.
From the top, preferably on the engine, but any top-down shot's good because armor is weakest on the top, which is why top-down is superior. Now, the issue is, if the thing can detect your rocket, what it'll do, especially if it's moving, which this is all situational, by the way, and I'll explain the second situation in a second. If your vehicle is moving and you do a top-down attack and it has smoke countermeasures, what it'll do is it'll deploy those smokes once it detects the missile coming in, and then it'll move within that smoke, and the missile, losing complete track of the target, will hit where it last was. So, if the vehicle driver is being cheeky, he can just pull away but stay in that smoke and completely negate your attack. Now, if the vehicle is in a static position, such as a fortified area, you could probably do a top-down attack. He'll deploy his smoke, but your your missile's still going to hit because he's probably not going to move. It's really hard for a
Liru?
Zeus to micromanage that. What?
Can I go to the bathroom for a minute? Or will I be killed?
Give me 1 second. Can you hold it for like 2 minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can wait.
Yep. You can go once I'm finished with my rant. I'll speed through the rest. It's not that hard. But anyway, if the vehicle is static, usually a top-down will still work because the Zeus isn't able to move it in time. Vehicle, though, if it has fuel, it'll try to back away at least. But, you know, again, situational. As you play more of this launcher, you'll figure things out. So, last thing I wanted to point out. To lock on with this, you have to hold the tab button. Now, if you're looking at it normally without any thermal sights, you're going to notice that you can't do that. It doesn't do anything when you hold the tab button. That's because you have to go to a thermal imaging system of either white hot or black hot, which, by the way, these are the same sights you'll get for the Javelin, or excuse me, the Titan. And then you can hold tab. Now, here's the deal. Everything I just told you about thermal imaging gets thrown out the window for lock-on. That's because the Javelin literally takes a picture of the target and locks onto it that way because the Javelin is a crazy fucking missile system. Now, so if I were to look at the Shilka, for example, because I hate myself and I like to fire at point-blank targets I'll probably miss, you can, aim it and it's not on. If I were to look at this Chad next to the Shilka, I could lock onto him. If I were to look at that client-side bunny out in the distance, I can lock onto it. Anything that can produce a thermal signature, aka have a picture of it taken, regardless of where it is, can be locked on and fired upon. That's because the missile knows where it is at all times. It knows this. I won't go on the rant. So, basically, any infantry, anything that can produce a thermal, anything flying in the air, this thing can lock onto it. This is also your most overpowered anti-air launcher because sometimes certain vehicles don't get a warning lock because this isn't IR guided. This is literally flying up to the vehicle because it has a picture of it and it knows to hit it.
There's a question I have about it. When you're doing air attack with it, do you want to use the direct feature?
Yes. Don't use top down on an aircraft that is literally above you by a few kilometers. I would think that's common sense, but then again, I've had to explain why earplugs are important before, so anything's on the table. So yes, don't use top-down on a flying aircraft. Please. If you want to figure out what happens, you can do it on your own time.
I didn't know what happened, that's why I was asking.
Any questions?
What's the travel time of a missile? Like, how fast does it go?
That's a very good question. Fast. It goes fast.
It goes fast
Yeah,
enough.
or
It's
what?
fast enough. That's all you need to know.
Now, maximum range of the Javelin Titan is like, I believe, 3 clicks or something. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. You're never going to engage anything farther than that range, except maybe aircraft. So, food for thought.
Question.
Yes.
After I fire the Javelin, do I let go and don't give a fuck?
So, that's a
Or
very
stay on
good
target?
question, and that's actually a great segue into a side point. The RHS Javelin, even though it's not supposed to be, is reloadable. Now, that's because technically the missile warhead actually is just another Javelin texture, because technically what you're holding when you hold up a Javelin is a CLU, a clue system, which is that thermal imaging camera, and it's connected to the Javelin tube. Because basically the CPU that tells the Javelin warhead what to hit is in the clue and it links to the Javelin, blah, blah, blah. I won't get into too many specifics. But if we ever use a mod like 3CB for the British stuff, they have a Javelin where you have to get the clue system in a Javelin tube and actually ace interact equipment and connect them and disconnect them to reload them. Because that's how it works in the real world. RHS may give us that one day. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I just work here. But do note that some other javelin systems might have you reload it that way. That answer your question? Good question.
In other words, do your research.
Yes. If you don't know something when you're in op, just ask. Do it during, like, you know, when you're joining in or briefing, because if you ask how to use your equipment actually in the field, people are going to make fun of you, like I already did to a few people in this training.
And then promptly shoot you.
No, because that's a 7-day ban. Anyway. Alright, guys, line up. I'm going to spawn a bunch of random targets out in the distance, so, you know, you do whatever you want.
You gonna spawn more Romans? Again?
Alright, let us know.
We're not going to do more Romans just yet. Alright, guys. I want everyone to lock on with a launcher here, because I always like to get this shot. Alright. I will call when to fire your first round. Clear back blast, everybody. Lock on.
Clear back blast.
Rocket, 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 fire. Ah, that's so beautiful. Who just killed the Chad point blank? Your mom's a hoe. Chad did not deserve to be hit by an 80,000 round. Who the frick made the bear fly? Ah, whatever.
I am the kinky hockey.
Alright, here's the deal. I'm gonna go use the bathroom. When I come back in a minute, I expect everything on this range to be dead. Except the infantry.
Let's go.
I'll be back.
Clear back blast. Clear back blast. Clear back blast. Clear back blast.
Are they ever gonna make that for 14 killable?
What T14?
The RHS one.
I don't know what you're talking about. It is a perfectly killable launcher with I mean,
It deletes,
oh wow, I am literally dying.
deletes every missile.
Through the fucking table.
We need a medic.
Through the fucking table. Nice.
Alright, watch and learn. This is how you kill a T14. It's really simple, guys. You take a javelin,
It's it from the top down, that's what I did.
you attack from the top down. 1 second. Clear my back blast.
Back blast clear.
Clear.
Rocket, rocket, rocket. Easy.
No, I was trying to kill that, but then I
And new
just-
information you learn every day. Right. At least I know that you can kill a top down now.
Alright, here. How about this? Now, we're going to learn... I'm putting a T14 in the middle of the range, okay? Kill it. Alright?
Oh, there I see it. Way out there. Okay.
Hold up.
Yep, it is literally right there. Have fun.
Clear back blast, clear back blast,
Clear back blast, clear back blast. Nope.
Clear my back blast.
Just nope. It's the biggest nope.
Come on, I'm waiting, guys. Kill it.
Told you. Does it have a gunner active? Or a commander?
Kill it, guy. I just showed you how to kill it. It's not hard.
You have a fucking gunner or a commander.
Do it. No, there's no one in there. See, I'm walking around right now. There's no... Ow.
Die. Fucking die, you piece of T14.
Oh my god. Alright, here. Hold up. Ceasefire. Come on, guys. This isn't that difficult, okay? What? No. See? Okay. Here's the deal. So you've seen me moving, right? I haven't done anything to that tank. So let me lock it. Locking. Make sure you set the top down. Fire. It's not hard.
I call it witch,
Dude, this is admin abuse, obviously.
I
Abuse
call
of
it
power.
witch, Eddie. He's a witch.
What's that word that they keep saying? Abuse?
What's abusive about it? It's. Do you need another example?
Can
I'm
you
just
please
wondering
put
how
another
the
one?
other missiles
Please.
didn't explode when they launch.
You're not watching them, they sort of disappeared before they touched it.
Okay. How about all of you fire at once to prove my point? Alright? You need sustained fire, or you just need to know how to do it right, okay?
Fuck the T14, if you stand still,
Alright?
blow it up.
Here, I will call it. Alright, everyone get your lock right now. Everyone get your lock. Alright?
Stand shoulder to shoulder.
I will call when to hit it, okay? Is everyone locked on?
Lock quiet.
Is anyone that's not locked on? Alright, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. Not one of you fired a menace and activated the system, or, when I say javelin, guys, okay. Here's the deal. I'll show you, I'll let you in on a little secret, alright? Let me get a new javelin. Here's the deal. Here's how you do it, guys. Alright, it's really easy, okay? This is what you do. You load it, you aim at it, you then sight it down, you then fire when you're locked, and then you quickly go into the Zeus interface and hit the end key on the tank as soon as the rocket goes into it, okay? It's really easy, alright?
I like.
Why you hate your place?
I like to have a little bit of fun, okay? Come on.
Fair
I
enough.
was on to you from the second you fucking did it anyway.
I know, I'm horrible.
Podcast over there.
Liru, you made me question my knowledge. I
you could all do the same
The
thing.
past $2,000 was wrong.
I know, horrible. Alright. So, this last system we're only going to talk about. I am not going to have you guys shoot down aircraft because it's pretty freaking easy compared to everything else, because you have to, there's literally nothing you can do once you launch the system. So, we have our Chad Stinger FIM-92F and our piece of shit. If you are given the choice, choose the Stinger over the piece of shit. For reference, shooting down Ruling Commander, who is one of our best pilots in this community, it only took me 7 Stinger rounds to finally get a hit on him. It took me 22 Igla rounds to get a hit on him. So use the Chad Stinger. Now, how you use these is really, really simple. You grab it, you pull it out, you look at the aircraft, that's it. You're going to hear a little whining, and once you get the little extra whining, which, you know, also has the dot in the box, you can fire. If you're not getting any whining or you're locking onto the wrong target, just lightly tap the T key every few seconds until you lock onto the right one. I say lightly because, you know, if you do it too fast, you might unlock it and relock it too quickly for your puny little brain to notice. So, I say to do it lightly, but you'll get a feel for it and do what you need to actually get the thing shot down. So, let's see. When you're fighting helicopters, I would recommend that you never fire at the helicopter while it's flying directly over your head. Why is that? Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, if you're firing directly up into the air, look at where my backblast is going to go.
Right into your ass.
Right into my butt. So I'm going to kill myself doing this. Number two, if the helicopter goes right over my head, the missile, it's trying to follow the helicopter, right? So you're forcing it to do a really sharp turn right from the get-go to hit it. So, really, that pilot doesn't even need to flare off at that point to avoid your missile. It can just keep flying and be fine. Because, well, the missile's probably going to lose lock because it can't turn that fast. Same goes for planes. If the plane's doing an evasive sharp left turn or right turn, it's probably a bad idea to fire at it at that point because, well, they can just do another sharp left or right turn when they go at you. I would say the best times to hit aircraft are when they're far away coming towards you trying to do a gun run, because it's really hard for them to pull up left or right or do an evasive action if they're flying directly at you. Same goes if they're flying directly away from you. Helicopters, however, since they're slower than planes, if they're flying perpendicular left or right, usually they're not able to pull an evasive action that'll save them if you fire at them with an Igla or a Stinger. Which, by the way, these have a maximum lock-on range of about 1.5 clicks. So if the aircraft is that close to you, shame on them. Anyone have any questions on how to use these launchers? Also, I had a Titan AA Compact because in vanilla, that's used against aircraft. But as with Ace, it acts like a javelin. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to make sure, the 300 meters on when you next to the launcher is the minimum distance, right?
Recommended, yes. I've hit things closer. I've hit something that was right above my head. But again, that's because if again, you have something fly right over your head and it's within those 300 meters, your missile has to make a very quick turn and usually loses lock immediately when you're that close, because it's usually flying really fast. Also, don't ever use this launcher against ground vehicles. This is the equivalent of firing an RBR at them, because this is designed to, you know, damage aircrafts, like the wings and stuff, to basically make it lose lock. Also, never fire it parallel to the ground or uphill, because the warhead drops. It drops out of the tube and then speeds off. So if you fire it like this, it's going to drop into the ground and hurt you. There's an op I played a few months ago where someone fired an Mi-24 uphill. I was uphill, and he kind of hit me with it, and I was very mad. It wasn't even me, it was next to me, and I just kind of bitched at him as I was unconsciously brought back up. But, yeah. There's your AA lesson. Anyone have any questions?
Nope.
Alright. Does anyone need to leave right now? Cool, I asked because I have to take pictures if you're leaving, because, you know, I have to log your AT train at the Grenadier, blah, blah, but I prefer people to say so I can do both. If no one has any questions, I will see you guys in Grenadier. Feel free to respawn. Also, the 7-day is waived.
Funny.
Welcome to Grenadier Training. I trust you all use the same method I did to get here because it's easier that way instead of running. Also, I set myself to invincibles while I watched you drop ragdoll while standing. It was really funny to see. Anyway, let's see. Who are we missing? Alright. Let me get the guys that we're missing. 1 second. That did kill everyone, but some people aren't getting the memo that they should respawn. Let me remind them.
I see something alive. Everyone near you.
Exactly.
I'm proud for Z Atomic for respawning at AT training. Maybe he'll figure it out. No, he still didn't figure it out.
He's been doing it for about
Because
a
I didn't hear the light. I didn't hear the thunder.
Travel past your ears. It's low.
Clearly. My headphones are.
Grenadier.
Don't mock him.
Grenadier.
Oh, he's back.
Don't mock his typing.
He broke. Liru made him crash.
He crashed the game.
Lightning.
1 second.
One.
Angel, I have a terrifying idea.
What's that?
Sorry, I have to log that picture because, you know, someone left. How is a ton? Oh my fucking god.
Don't grenades.
No, that's not a grenade, just rubber bullets. It's basically a monster cannon flying at you at terminal velocity.
Oh my god, have you
So
seen
I have deleted the AT spawn point. So now he has to spawn at Grenadier.
I can't.
Oh my god, there he is. It took me literally deleting the spawn point to get him here. I'm so proud of him.
I can hear you now, but you need to speak up, buddy.
No, I've seen it. Have you not seen the grenade launcher?
Alright.
Where it just spits out, it's like a shotgun.
Atomic!
I think I might have.
Atomic!
Delicious. That's
Atomic!
Can I silence him?
Boom!
Tap the shoulder.
He's
looking around.
Alright, it's okay, guys. Alright.
Target practice.
Thankfully, we now have someone to test these Grenadier rounds on. I'm so happy. Okay. So, we're going to go over both systems, and I'll spawn some targets for you to shoot at that these systems can utilize. We have the Blue 4 320/203 systems, and we have the Op 4/Green 4 GP25 system. Both have pros and cons. Both have unique types of munition based off of what they do. For the start of this training, we're going to talk about Blue 4 systems. However, I am going to take a small break to let Nightmare come back, which, actually, he might be back in just a second. So how is everyone's day? What do we learn about T14s?
T14s.
You're cheating.
We learned that I am a cheating bastard, yep. That's really funny coming from the slutty spider demon, but okay.
Hey, look, so I had to restart.
Alright. So,
we're gonna have to fight that thing.
now, we're going to do a little bit of talkie-talkie here. So, on the table, you're going to notice that I have an MX 3GL. I've got a 320 solo system, which is the secondary weapon. I got a 230 and 320. 230 is the tube on the bottom. 320 has the little, shooter pistol on the bottom. And a 6-shot M32 rotary cannon. Now, there will be offs where you use that. Whether it's actually used as a Grenadier launcher or as a 6-shot shotgun is entirely up to your Zeus. I have done both in the past month. It's been fun. But we're going to primarily talk about the 203 and 320 systems. However, I would like you all to, at some point, look at the MX3GL system. Basically, how it works is it puts 3 grenades in your little shooter thingy, so you can use the first shot to range where you're going, and then 2 and 3 to actually fire them. But it would help if I actually had a 3GL loaded instead I had a single shot, which makes me silly. So, you also get a red dot sight with that launcher that I believe you can range up to... I don't remember. Let me range it up real quick. You can range it up to 400 meters, similar to the GP25 system. So it is technically the most ranged Blue Force system. Also, you can range it between 50, 75, and 100, which is another advantage that the 203 and 320 systems don't give you. So, food for thought. There you go. Now, I'd like everyone to grab an M4A1 PIP 203, and then hit F to switch to the Grenadier sight. Now, this sight is nice because you can range it down to 50 meters, and in increments of 50, go all the way up to 250 meters. It was made during the tail end of the Vietnam War, because why give a guy an M79 China Light grenade launcher when you can give them a rifle that also fires grenades? Now, what is inherently wrong with the 203 system?
I'm
sights?
unsure.
The
Sight
sights.
is in the wrong place.
Well, see, we say in the wrong place. You see, rifle-based sights for riflemen, shush you, were invented. Well, they were invented for, you know, quite a while. But for riflemen, it didn't really become a thing to give them red dot sights and ACOG scopes till like the late 1990s, early 2000s. So, you know, for those 30 years between the 60s and 90s, you had people using this type of top-down sight because it seemed like a good idea because, you know, they were only given iron sights. So, the government then invented the 320 system. Now, the 320 system's nice because if you hit F, you're going to notice that your Grenadier sight is on the left side, and you can range it up to 350 meters instead of 250 meters, which is really useful for when you need to do this. Ow!
Ouch!
Nice.
I was planning to stun grenade him, but that works too, I guess.
All bleeding.
Question actually
I
about stun
left the
grenade
back.
launchers. Do they actually work against
That's why I
AI?
wasn't there.
I know, Atomic, I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
Alright, so, healed you all. 320 system is superior than the 203. If you are ever given the choice, take the 320 over the 203, unless you like to literally take your rifle scope off every time you want to use your grenade launcher, which takes time, and sometimes time is the one thing you do not have, to quote Dark Spectre from Power Rangers. So, I am now going to take a single copy of every rifle-borne grenade from this arsenal. Do note that it is also going to give you an M441 HE grenade round. It is literally the same thing as the 40mm HE grenade round. It is just meant for M4 systems exclusively. So I will be ignoring that because, well, I just said it's the same thing. So, after I do that, make sure we are all behind the HESCO, because as you notice, firing an HE round point blank kind of hurts because shrapnel goes at a very long range. So, let's see. We're going to start with... Let me drop the frickin' M4 round. Stand by. Alright, we are going to start with the standard 40mm HE grenade round. So, you fire it. It would help if I had it loaded. Silly me. You load it in, click it in place, and then fire it, and it goes boom. And it kills all infantry around it. We saw that with Z Atomic's mangled corpse over there because I fired it right in his face. Now, do note, this system also has what is called a minimum fire safety distance, also minimum det distance. So if I were to fire it into the HESCO, it would not detonate. Same goes for the GP25 right now. I believe they added a minimum det distance to it too, but hey, we can try it out later. So, if you need to fire this thing point blank, use your gun, because the gun can also kill people. Don't use a buckshot round. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, let's see the other rounds. You have your 433 HEDP grenade. HEDP is nice because it is effective against infantry, but it makes a smaller explosive arc, but you can also fire it against vehicles. This round will actually penetrate the armor of most BTRs, and if you notice, it's hard to tell, but that actually got a little bit darker. If I were to tab out, double-click it, didn't do any vanilla damage.
Go then. Do any damage.
So, I'm going to be 100%. I didn't end key it. I didn't drag its health down. It actually literally just blew up. So, welcome to HEDP. It can blow up BTRs.
I don't believe you of the T14 stunt.
Okay. Here's the deal then. I've been challenged. So, I am going to take this BTR-80A. I'm going to spawn it here. Someone load an HEDP grenade. And I am going to kill myself so I cannot get into the arsenal. And I will respawn in 15 seconds. So you have 15 seconds to kill it. heard it explode. Okay. Alright, guys, ceasefire, ceasefire. Unfortunately, Roman Empire was murdered because he got too close to the BTR. So you didn't all need to fire at it, you just needed one guy to do it like I did, but that's okay. It still blew up while I was dead, proving that I didn't do anything wrong. Just like, well, actually I can't say that on Twitch, never mind. So, let me get my gear back and we'll continue talking about this stuff.
Oh wait, are you streaming right now, Liru?
Yeah, people asked me to, so everything we've done, including the T14 fiasco, was recorded.
So that's what it is. You needed money. Now I get it.
Wow, the Twitch streamer streams for money.
Hey,
In other words, water is wet. In other words, I sell my butt for a living. Wait, no, that's Angel. Never mind. Okay.
You did the T14 is done because you needed content and content
training.
brings money.
You want to continue with the training?
I was asking.
Yeah. What?
Imagine needing money, dude. Come on.
Money is a
I'm in
joke.
college like him, so I know that feeling.
The HET grenade is like the HE grenade, except like the airburst grenade we talked about in the RPG section, this one's actually useful. You fire it, it bounces, and explodes. The reason it bounces is because what's deadlier? A spherical explosion that is next to your head, or a semi-sphere explosion next to your feet? Arguably the head, because the shrapnel will tear your pretty little face apart. Also, the shrapnel goes farther because, well, there's more distance because it fired in the middle of the air instead of in the ground. As you saw, that HET bounced all the way up around that Shilka. So it's also useful for bouncing it over things like walls, vehicles, other stuff that would, you know, murk people.
Okay, don't fire at close range.
Now, your GL stun grenade. Simply put, it stuns people. It used to also kill them. RHS has fixed that. It fires,
They actually fixed it?
makes a smoke effect. It'll probably give them a minor wound, but it forces them in an animation, in which case you can run up and cable tie them and do whatever you want to them. So, fun. The M576 buckshot round is a useless piece of shit, because what's more effective? This, or this?
Fire.
Probably your bullets. Now, the exception is if you are looking for a shotgun and you think the ones in the game are a bit too lackluster, so instead you load an M32 with 6-round buckshot, because you're a mean Zeus and you're trying to meme hard. So, yeah, you might see that once in the blue moon, so don't use buckshot unless it's given to you. Now, you have your flare round. Flare round is really nice because you fire it in the air, it makes a pretty little light. Now, the only time you're actually going to fire it in the air is if you're playing Unsun Vietnam. That's because the flares in that game are frickin' nuclear mini-suns that illuminate entire areas of like 500 meters radii. It's crazy. But for a flare at night, what's easier? Firing the flare in the air or firing the flare directly at the enemies, illuminating them to tell everyone, hey, fire at the people by the pretty light?
At the pretty light one.
Yeah, the second one. Also, alright, how about we all unload our launcher slots and stop firing so I can teach? Thank you. Anyway, flares. Also, JTACs can use them to kind of show off where to have air hit targets. It's really easy for air to take off their night vision, look down and see a pretty red light and go, okay, I strike there. So sometimes you see that JTACs are given flare or smoke rounds. Firing a flare off right now at that radar site.
Ooh, pretty.
Boop. Lands right there, and that would illuminate the radar site, and then air can, you know, drop a JDAM on it or whatever. Anyway, smoke. Smoke achieves the same effect as the flare, except it's used at daytime instead of nighttime. Fire it at the enemy. Tell air or your friendlies, hey, enemy units, buy that smoke grenade. And yeah, let her rip. Now, here's the deal. I fired it at those, Shilkas. Notice how it bounced all the way over to the right. Ignore the fact that someone, even after I just said to not fucking fire on the range, fired. The one that's farther away is my smoke round.
What the fuck?
My point is, these can bounce a lot.
Oh shit.
So you normally don't use these to, A, tell infantry where guys are because, well, that's two different positions, clearly. Usually it's better to tell air, hey, big target, by that red smoke, reference 40 meters southeast on the runway. And air can, you know, figure that out. Also, firing smoke which conceals people at infantry might not be the best idea if you're trying to engage them as infantry. Also, really hard to use a smoke round to, if it's fired from a UGL system, if you're trying to conceal yourself because you want to fire it farther than what you can throw, it's going to be difficult to do if it bounces around. There are communities out there like the 506 that have modified their smoke rounds to not have any bounce, so that is possible. However, for all of us plebs in every other community that don't do that, that's not an option for us. So smoke rounds are almost exclusively given to JTAC or people that'll use 5.5 to call in airstrikes and shit. Any questions on that?
Do our Handayar rounds actually work? Slash, do we use them?
Alright, for this last round, everyone needs to come around the arsenal, go to your backpack, hit the plus icon, and grab a Hunt IR monitor. I'm not ignoring your question, I'm answering it. After you do that, step away from the arsenal.
Around the arsenal, hunt the armor door. Sorry, Liru.
All good. Alright, once you have one of those, step away from the box. I'll fire my round in 10 seconds. Hunt IR is a Blue Fort unique round that basically gives you an eye in the sky at the squad level, which, especially in urban environments where you don't see too much in front of you, can help give you an basically a feel on the battlefield without relying on air assets or drone operator with a UAV. You take this puppy, you hit Shift K. The wind's not blowing because the arrow's not pointing in any direction, so it's okay for me to literally just fire this in the air. I say that because you don't want this blowing towards your enemy, especially if you're doing a stealth mission. Because if this lands by your enemy, even though it doesn't aggro them, you better believe the Zeus will aggro on it because this creates a symboled item in the Zeus interface and they will keep track of it. Boom. Now, if you look straight up in the air where I fired it, you're going to see a little puff of smoke. There it is. And then you're going to see a little parachute with a camera. Now, if you do Control Windows, Equipment, and activate Hunt IR Monitor, you're going to see it'll all light up, and it'll say Searching 5 times. And then it'll say Connecting 5 times. It used to be 3, don't know why they bumped it to 5, it's because they hate us, I guess. And then you're going to get a Hunt IR camera. Now, fun fact, anyone with a Hunt IR can interact with this thing, even if, you know, someone already technically is. That's because limitations of ARMA. So, you know, multiple people can access it. Now, to move around, aka the camera around, you can use the arrow keys. To toggle the zoom, you do D, as in dick. And then you can use that to zoom into an 8x zoom. And then the A key, as in, well, you know what I'm going to say, to zoom out. To toggle between, thank you. To toggle between multiple Hunt IR cameras, which is illustrated by the fact it says camera 1 on the top right of the Hunt IR monitor, you use the W and the S key. You can also use the N key, as in Niagara, to go between night vision and regular vision. Other stats, it'll tell you what zoom level you are on the top right. It'll give you a compass bearing, not on the bottom right, but a little towards the left after the bottom right corner. So, referencing your north, south, east, west. It'll tell you its total flight time on the bottom left from the second it, I believe it's left your tube. No, it would be, I think how they do it is they add 15 seconds or 10 seconds by default after it lands in the air, and then it counts off that way. And then it gives you on the top left your current altitude and a 4-digit grid ref for your X and Y on the map. Hold on. What? By tomorrow afternoon. I already texted her that. Sorry, we're talking about pineapples. Anyway, does anyone have any questions on a Hunt IR?
Your safety word?
What? That's not my safety word, it's a different word. Anyway.
You don't have one.
Retribution, bitch. Anyway, fun fact, if you were to fire at the parachute, it'll hard at this range with an iron sight. I hit it once. You're going to see that's actually starting to fall a little faster. So if an MG opens up on that thing, or if you're a Zeus and you hate Hunt IR rounds because you're a jerk like me, you can just open up with it with any gun and it'll fall faster to the ground. Now, as I already mentioned, if it falls at enemies' feet, it will literally despawn and the AI won't aggro against it. But you better believe that Haji Vest guy number 1 and Durka Durka number 2 are going to look at where it was via Zeus commands and go, hey, what's this little thing tied to a parachute? This looks high tech. Oh, maybe US are about to attack. Let's sound the alarm. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
That way.
Send in goat team
Try to make sure
6
that when you're
now.
popping a Hunt IR
Here we go.
round, you're trying to make sure that it doesn't float towards the enemy position.
Exactly. So let's say
Try
the
and-
enemies were, for the sake of argument, by those 2 Shilkas, and the wind was blowing in the direction of those Shilkas. So I would not fire the round directly over my head because the wind would blow the round to them. Instead, I'd fire it off to my south or my north, but not to my west, or excuse me, east, because that's west, because east would still blow it towards them. I'd fire it north because it would blow away from them, or south because it would blow away from them. Get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So taking consideration when popping Hunt IR
Exactly.
and not pointed towards the enemy.
Now, that's only if you're doing Spec Ops stuff. If you're doing, like, let's say you're in a CQB environment in the town of Fallujah, it doesn't matter where you pop the damn thing, because, you know,
Yep, nowhere.
middle of day, yeah. I'm talking about if you're doing, like, a night op, which, by the way, fun fact, the only thing that will aggro the AI is if you're close to the AI and you fire the grenade launcher and they hear the thunk. But the actual round, they don't aggro to. Muck, thanks for the 26-month resub. I hope you keep enjoying the operations. Hold on. Does anyone have any questions at all?
Good there, Nomad?
And I hope you get a kit
Yeah,
out of
good.
SEAL training.
What are you asking?
You just kept reloading your weapon.
I just like that sound, alright? I like the animation and everything about it. Let me alone.
Now, quick thing for the sake of argument, because chat asked me this question, I feel like entertaining them today.
My god.
I need a volunteer to run 5 meters. Actually, Nightmare, thank you for volunteering for this. Let me reload a Hunt IR round.
If someone really hates you, Nightmare.
What happens if you fire a Hunt IR directly at somebody? Past the minimum debt distance.
Wait, it's in you.
In his crotch, dude.
What the fuck? Look.
Ooh, it's like a soda can.
Nightmare,
Wait.
are you hurt? According to your ace, you're not hurt. So it does jack shit. So don't think you can Rambo some dude and put the round in his torso. Yes, IRL, that would definitely knock the wind out of him, probably break some ribs, probably not kill him, but it would hurt like hell. And probably knock him on his ass. But this is Arma. Arma's full of scripts. The game does what the
Yeah.
scripts say.
It's hard to emulate what
Can
the
you
vision
shoot
of
the
a
buckshot,
monster can
actually?
hitting
I
you
just
at
want to
full
see how much
velocity.
damage it does.
I'll let you guys use
The
buckshot on
open
each
weapon.
other when we finish with this. Now, GP25 system, like any other RHS Russian system, is a little superior than the Blue Force system, but it's a bitch to master. That is because, well, the difference is you get an extra 50 meters up to ranging with your sight, so you can range it up to 400 meters. However, you got a little like a little tick. And when you go to 400 meters, it essentially turns your gun into a 20 millimeter mortar that is only effective up to 400 meters away. So, you know, maybe have someone else range your weapon for you because you don't get the little doodads that do it for you. You just have to guess based off of the numbers it tells you on the top. So, let's talk about round types. I'm sorry, I had to hit Shift K again to make the little thing disappear. But your VOG 25. That was a 25P. Okay. VOG 25. Sorry, changing rounds. This tells you on the top right, it's your HE grenade. You fire it, it explodes, just like an HE grenade. Now, you have your VOG 25P. This, on the top right, it tells you it's your HE-T grenade. You fire it, it bounces.
Hmm.
Still
broken.
bouncing grenades.
Yeah,
Wait for it.
Fix that.
It's still bouncing?
Wait for it.
Let's give him a warm welcome,
I'm actually
shall we?
intrigued about one round. The VG40TB.
Wait for it.
Yes, big
Ah,
set
yeah,
round.
that one.
Make sure you get 57 of them, guys.
My point is sometimes these rounds detonate after 10 to 15 seconds. Sometimes they don't detonate at all. But if you notice the flight path of that, it literally bounced over the Shilka and was supposed to detonate, but I think it landed on top of the Shilka and glitched the fuck out. Anyway, yeah, latest RHS update broke OP4 HET grenades. So don't use them because they're broken, okay? Easy stuff. Duds. It's great. Don't use it. Anyway, going to the next type of ammunition. Now we have the VOG 20, VG40 TB. What have I said that TB means? Yes.
Big suck.
Big suck.
Big suck.
The biggest suck.
Now let me show you why this is called the big suck.
Shit, no.
Oh, wait.
Big suck. Everything that's in anything that was in that cloud of smoke is dead. As long as it is infantry or biological. So you just killed all of Haji's goats, the entire Blue Force squad, and my will to live. So, VG40SZ. This is your standard OP4 stun grenade. I know, right? You fire this at somebody, makes a puff of smoke, and it stuns them.
Just like
Guys, keep the fucking round in your pants, for the love of God. Come on, I'll clear you in a second. Now you have your VGOP red. It's your flare. Fire it at the enemy feet, and boom. It illuminates. Do note it likes to bounce a little bit, but not as much as your smoke grenade. Then you have your GRD-40. There's two different types of smoke grenades. This one is the less bouncy one. So if you have the choice, use the GRDs. Fire. She went far.
The fuck? Where are you? Oh my god, it's in the fucking tree line.
So, I'm actually impressed. She didn't really bounce that much, but she went a little far compared to everywhere else I fired it. So, keep that in mind. And now, you have your GDM-40. This one is your situational round. So, who do I want to pick on? Yeah, go ahead. Who called quick question? What's your question? This is the part where after you say quick question, you're supposed to say your question so I can answer it. Anyone?
Oh no, I said quick white. Sorry.
Your fucking Australian accent will end us.
Any other quick wipes? Any other quick wipes that you want to say like quick question?
Liru, that wasn't.
Oh, by the way, I'm a tier 5. I pardoned myself for that. Anyway, let's keep talking. So, you know what? Fuck it. Let's say Angel Dust is our squad leader, and he's being horrible right now because he says things that sound like quick question and make me lose my sanity. But he is about to lead us in a giant open field, and he doesn't notice that T-72 right there. I don't know why he didn't. I told him it was there, but he's like, nah, it'll be fine. And oh my god, that T-72 is now shooting at us, and we have no AT because someone forgot to tell the AT guy to bring AT. Angel Dust. So what do I do being the chat I am? I knew this was a bad idea. So I know that we're in an open field and we're fucked right now. So we need, shut your fucking mouth, I'm speaking. Now, we are in an open field, being fired on by this T-72, and I know that smoke grenades are going to take 3 to 5 seconds to billow out. So what do? Being the chat I am, I fire this puppy. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 8 to 10 seconds where that thing is going to go from shooting directly at us to suppressing us, where we can go prone and pop our smoke grenades. Now we're going to have this big, massive smoke thing out, and now we can all crawl behind this red crate over here because Angel Dust fucked us again. Any questions on how to use fast smoke?
Nope.
No.
It was a good example, right?
Only Roman actually said it.
Oh fuck.
I'm used to getting plugged.
No.
Oh no, oh no.
You have a
Back
death
the
quiz?
fuck up, everyone.
Do it!
Alright, guys, we are going to clear the range for you guys to test these weapon systems. Now, I don't have any goats or chads today, but Z Atomic has volunteered to be the example. So I'm gonna put them way out here for you guys. And I'm gonna set you to invincible, so they're gonna torture you, my friend.
Oh, that's not gonna. Dude, that's gonna be fucking hilarious. I'm gonna be made of stellinium. I see the guns, and I feel like I'm the. Yeah, man, I don't think I can say the funniest to me.
Have fun. Alright, guys, he's set to invincible, so I would highly recommend you test out stun grenades a lot, okay? And as you do that, I'm gonna tag you all with your perms, so, you know, you get credit for your trainings, unlike Iceberg, who apparently doesn't give it for MG. Now, good luck, have fun. The fact you would fire a fast smoke in front of your target to conceal him is beyond me. Here, we're gonna make a bunch of copies of Z Atomic so you can actually see his rounds being effective.
God. My frames.
That's because I just copied a shit ton of Z Atomics, and they're all literally dying. They're all literally dead.
About these Russian ones. These ones have a safety distance if you shoot.
Oh shit.
Yes, they should have a minimum debt distance. Now, he thinks he's safe because he's set to invincible, guys, so prove him that when I take the invincibility off, he is still very, very killable.
Can we get the javelins?
No. We already javelin somebody.
Ah.
I don't see him anymore.
There.
Ow! Careful.
So the guy that just point blank the thermal barrack, your mom's a hoe.
I agree.
So, Z Atomic is now insta-dead, so, okay.
These are more scary than an SC-25 coming at me if I see a squad with thermal barracks.
Did I just delete the plane? I'm not sure.
Yes. Oh, I deleted it because it causes a lot of lag when it blows up. Anyway, guys, here's a bunch of chads to kill. There's some BTR 80 alphas for you to test HEDP. Do whatever you want. I am going to tab out and now give you all your perms. So, thank you for training. What?
After this, I can request you to, right?
If you've been playing for 3 weeks and have 3 trainings, and you've been active in those 3 weeks, then yes, but that's up to the tier 3s and shit to decide. Anyway, tabbing out, BRB.
While you're here, so Liru, can I actually talk while tapped out?
What?
I've got a question once you're done.
What's your question?
So, I kinda have 2 accounts for TeamSpeak due to connection reasons. One of them doesn't work sometimes, blah blah blah. Once I get mine on this, can I get it on the other one?
Yeah, make that type of request in the Discord under rank requests. I'll process it. And I don't know why you people are saying ow, but if you point blank something again because I'm tabbed out, your mom's a hoe.
Did someone just
Can we
fucking fire
execute
a
whoever who-
fucking thermal barrack in
By the name
I
of
can
WEDA?
confirm some
I
retarded.
decide to execute whoever who shoots a blank one again.
I'm going on a mission.
Why is nobody firing?
I see what a thermobaric looks like at spawn.
I honestly don't know what I'm shooting at, but thermal barracks looks cool.
Yo,
That's
Roman.
what I care about.
Roman,
Yeah?
you didn't mean to shoot a thermobaric straight up.
Oh god. I'm
Sorry,
running.
what?
Look, look, I'm gonna
Oh
shoot
fuck,
a
oh fuck, oh
thermobaric
fuck, oh
straight
fuck, oh
up.
fuck, oh 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 fuck.
Ring grenade.
We're going hunting, boys.
I wanna test something.
All right, two quick things, guys. Just for two specific individuals. First off, Roman Empire, your mom's a hoe. You already had your Grenadier training, and Z Atomic, I'm taking you off of away because you're in my training.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've not been away for the past, I think, month already.
All right, well, make sure if you actually come back from being away, you go to rank request or LOA and say that you're back, so we can reflect that. Okay, well, I guess my editor team's a hoe.
Since you know you kind of been
It's
through
good
a lot
to
of
force
shooting,
some more.
can
Like,
I
you
run
don't
the
have
backpack round to see what it does?
Please don't.
It's like any other.
Alright guys, that is going to be it for me today. I'm going to spend the next 2 hours working on Project 11's massive fucking paper. If you have access to TSB's Discord and the OP channel, not notification show, but the OP concept group, and you want to see the progress of that document, it's 17 pages right now. It's probably going to be 50 by the time I'm done with it, keck. Feel free. I'll be working on that for the next 2 hours. And let's see, I'll also upload a video at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, maybe. I want to do part 2 of the unboxing, so it'll probably only be one Zeus op today, because, Zeus video today. And we'll be back streaming by 4 o'clock for the public op, and then I might stream to 6:30. The reason I'm not streaming the, I'm not streaming the dev work for Project 11 is because it's a lot of paperwork more than anything, and I already had all the tech trees and stuff made. I just critiqued them with the new mod set and made them a little better. But, you know, that's the only thing that's worth streaming, because otherwise it's just me doing an ASMR while I type and getting mad. So, thank you guys for watching. Go operate operationally. Hopefully I'll see you in the public op, either on the server or on the stream live. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. Hope you learned something. Hope you learn never to trust your Zeus. Wink. And cheers, guys, and have a good one.